The following podcast is intended for mature audiences. If you enjoy our work, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow the links in the description. Thanks for your support, and enjoy.
Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucci, joined, as always, by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and today we are talking about Adaptation.
No, not the movie I haven't watched it long enough to still have an opinion on with Nicolas Cage.
I've never seen it.
We're talking about two new adaptations of material that Sport really, really loves. And that I'm fond of.
Yeah, more or less. Plus, it's something to talk about. And that's why you come to this show, I think. It's brand confidence that you can find only here at the Two Nerds Podcast. No, today, obviously, we are talking about, and I've forgotten the name of the show again, Mega Man Fully Charged.
And Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So, where to begin?
Well, a good place to start is the beginning. So how about we...
Alright, so to make a show about the Ninja Turtles or Mega Man, first you must create the universe.
I meant the one we watched first, you pedant.
Okay, fair enough. We went Mega Man first because I thought it was going to be the worst show.
And do you feel as though that was right?
For me, personally, yeah. Gosh. This is a hard thing to approach from, because, like, you're talking about something, inherently talking about adaptation, assumes that your listener is familiar with the source material. And as far as a Mega Man animated show goes, the source material isn't great.
Well, like, this, but that's not the source material, that's the prior adaptation.
Sure, I suppose. But even then, the source material of the original games, or the spin-off games, they tend to be kind of story light, action heavy.
It's a thin premise.
Yeah. I think they adapt pretty well here. Mega Man is a boy robot who fights evil and tries to help people and promotes peace between robots and mankind.
And there are people who don't want that, and so he fights them.
It's at its very core, it does what a Mega Man do. And the differences take it in an interesting direction. I
think that's actually kind of a watch phrase for this podcast, because in so much of various adaptations for things, differences from the previous or source material are seen as inherently bad by a large section of, at the very least, the kind of person that we are similar to. Nerds, in general, don't take too well to you changing the thing they like.
Sure.
But, for me, there is always there's a counter-argument, and I'll mention that when I'm done with this point. But if they're going to make a new adaptation, at this point in my life, I can say that if they're going to make a new adaptation and you change nothing, why are you making this a new adaptation? Oh, and more so, if the new adaptation changes something you like, it doesn't eliminate the previous adaptation. It's still there. You can still watch it. The counter-argument being, of course, that I wanted them to use that money to continue to make the version that I liked.
Sure. Media goes in cycles, though. Things fall out of favor and they come back around. That's unless you've got a serial media, and even then, unless you're a big thing in that serial media, your story will fall out of favor and then come back around. Like, Thor doesn't always have a comic book.
And trust in time that the best version of these things will sort of out. I am interested to talk about the Mega Man cartoon specifically, because I don't think Mega Man has had a good cartoon.
He's had interesting cartoons. He's had funny cartoons. He's had memorable cartoons. I am including the ones that were on certain video game discs. Like the cartoon pieces that came with Mega Man X4, I want to say, They weren't terrible. They were very early 2000s anime translation bad, but so was everything else at the time, so it is what it is. But it lent some world building to something that we hadn't had in that way before. It was interesting. It was graphically interesting. It was new. This isn't that. This is a Mega Man remix, as it were, as most adaptations are of an old property.
There are, I think, a couple things I'm going to mention during this podcast where they did change something, and I didn't like the change. I'll do my best to explain my reasoning why I don't like the change when it happens.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, we've only watched the first episode of each of these. Well, there's only the first episode of the Rise of the TMNT available on YouTube right now. On, I believe, Nickelodeon's channel, but just YouTube search Rise of the TMNT, you'll find it. And Mega Man's first two-parter is available on the Cartoon Network app. We only watched the first episode. I feel like we got what we needed from that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think in general, adaptations, to summarize and rephrase in my own words what the boy said, just to echo his opinion, basically, people are unwilling to accept adaptations. They liked what they liked in the first place, and if it becomes too different from that, it's scary. It might not be what they like anymore, and the things they liked about the old thing may not be experiences they can revisit in new configurations. But I always prescribe keeping an open mind and trying to enjoy something for what it is rather than what it could have been.
I try for that. I don't know that I'm as good at it.
We as beings are fallible.
There are, for me, even still, despite what I said earlier, and the point you made, which I do generally believe to be right, there are times when an adaptation can change something that I feel misses the point of the source material.
Sure, I understand and agree with that as well.
It doesn't get the spirit right. I'm less interested in the specifics than I am the spirit of the material, and it is possible to change things that don't get that right. But in that sense, the Mega Man, fully charged, I don't think it does. It changes things, but I think it's got the spirit.
Yeah. Cheaply, what I would say that this show does that makes it not for me is that it's aimed at a younger audience
than you thought it would be.
Well, not even that I necessarily thought it would be, more than I thought it could be, more than I'd prefer it to be. I know I'd like this show a little bit more if its plots and words weren't so basic.
It's aimed at, like, 8-year-olds.
Yeah, and it's a good show for 8-year-olds. I like the messages.
Like 12-year-olds, you'd probably like it more. Sure.
Just that little bit of extra verbiage, a little bit of less directness. 6-year-olds even, I think, could really dig this Mega Man show.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. I'm glad that somebody I love, an iconic character I like, might be getting into people's lives. And I don't mind a supporting cast for the most part.
I feel it.
I don't hate... fuck it, let's go into it. Yeah. I don't hate Mega Mini.
You sure?
I don't hate him.
No, why
but
not?
I don't like him, and I don't think he's necessary or funny. The concept is fine. I just don't think the execution is good.
I mean, his personality is essentially Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, but like for 6-year-olds.
Yeah, he's Rocket Raccoon.
So he's like he's not actually funny, and he's so safe that he's not interesting.
That's fair.
It's the Grumpy Bear, or the modern Grumpy Bear issue where I'm sure mad about stuff. Like what? Oh, I don't know. Misfortune. Things most people get mad about. But,
I sure am sassy.
Like, Mega Mini is a smaller robot who lives in Mega Man's helmet and helps him.
Basically seems to be running the Mega Man.
I guess, yeah. He's in charge of the systems. I don't fully get it, but okay.
I would like to ask the creators of Mega Man Fully Charged. I would like to ask them, what does Mega Mini bring to this party? Why is he here? What value is he adding to this premise?
Well, see, Mega Man gets to be the hero, and unfailingly gets to be like the good guy. He might get caught up in his stardom, or he might get like, excited about how cool his powers are or something. But at the end of the day, he gets to be the good guy. Whereas Mega Mini gets to be that kind of... He gets to get in trouble without Mega Man being held responsible for it.
So you're saying in like a metatextual sense, Mega Mini is Mega Man's id?
Basically, yeah. And I don't think he's very funny. I don't think it's really just the execution. I think the idea is interesting. I think it could do interesting things. But given the show it is and who it's intended for, it loses me because I'm not laughing.
I like Dr. Light in this.
Dr. Light is fantastic in this. That's a good-ass Dr. Light. He's kind of absent-minded, really loves science, great personality and attitude. I like that he's a war hero. That's really cool. Like, there's a lot of really good real estate on Dr. Light alone. If it weren't for Mega Mini, well, and the fact that I don't watch TV very well, I would watch this for Dr. Light. But it just kind of cancels him out. It's not worth it.
That's fair. There were interesting beats. They changed some of the stuff about the setting.
Yeah.
For some reason, Rock goes to school, and also his name is Haggis now or something?
Aki. Rock is Aki, and Roll is Suna and a human. Which I think is a cool, interesting idea.
I don't dislike that she's a human. I kind of dislike that they changed her name. I like the name Roll. And why would you change the name Rock? What's wrong with you? That's the best name. That's one of the best parts about Mega Man, that his name is Rock.
I'm sure they did it for a reason, but...
I mean, they did literally change it to Hacky, and I feel like that's a commentary on the quality of the change. Boom. I got all the jokes.
I took you at face value when you sassed me. The visuals are okay. I really like the pixelated stuff.
Oh yeah, you mean that part where they went, "Hey, remember when you were a kid and played Mega Man? Remember?"
Well, I like how they integrated into the show. Like that first little bit where he showed up and was on the rooftop. That was kind of neat little callback. But I like that, like when Mega Mini's in his head controlling shit and loading shit in, you see pixelated versions of...
You see, like, the sprites.
Yeah.
Like the game sprites for Fireman.
And when they did it as a flashback for Fireman, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was funny. I mean, it's a kid's show. Like, there's a lot of shows I've seen that I wouldn't necessarily call a kid's show.
This is clearly aimed at children.
Yeah.
In a slightly condescending way, but...
Yeah, I like to think kids are smarter than that, but you appeal to a broader audience in that way, and I don't disagree with it. Give it the right time slot, and this is perfect, you know?
Yeah, like a 3:30?
Sure, just out of school, time to watch Mega Man. Yeah, I don't hate it conceptually, and I really do like Dr. Light. Mega Man is fine.
The rest of it just doesn't... There's not... It's fine. It's very much a kid show. We're not the target audience, but if you got kids, listener, and you like Mega Man...
You could do worse. Oh, and the music is good, too. It's
just Mega Man music.
But it's, like, remixed and updated, and that's really nice. Like, the music is really fun to listen to. It's not annoying.
I mean, to be fair, Mega Man music is absurdly good. I would say Mega Man's music is the best part of the franchise.
Even I would be hard-pressed to argue with that. It is definitely a very important and good part, and they use it well. Good choices in audio, selections. This is more based on the original series, but it definitely is a strong adaptation of the original series. They're not handling, like, X stuff or...
Yeah, there aren't Mavericks here.
No, yeah. And there's not, it's not like Battle Network, even though it bears a stronger visual resemblance to that. I've never played the Battle Network games because I was poor at the time. So... but yeah, I suppose if you're a kid, what are you doing here? Or if you have kids...
many of the fuck words.
Yeah, man. If you have kids and you're like, oh man, it sure would be cool if my kid was into something that didn't annoy the piss out of me, this is probably a decent choice. Mega Mini isn't that bad.
Yeah, he's fine. Notably, I wasn't bothered by it.
He's not even Scrappy-Doo. Like...
I would warn you if he was Scrappy-Doo.
Yeah.
Moving on, I think.
Yeah, moving on. Let's talk about Rise of the TMNT. This has been something I've been embroiled in for a while. I've mentioned it on some of our Comic-Con style podcasts. I think specifically the Comic-Con one. Mm-hmm. I surf the TMNT Reddit, so I've gotten to see all this drama as the younglings and grognards alike find out that the show they like is gone and a new show is coming and it's different.
And the world turns.
Yeah, I mean...
It happens to, like... It's been a popular quote around the Tuners household for the past week or so. It's, I used to be with it, and then they changed what it was, and now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it is new and scary to me. It'll happen to you. Congratulations, youngling TMNT fans. You are now Grandpa Simpson. And...
You could do a lot worse than Abe Simpson.
Like all Abe Simpsons before us, I understand your pain. I do. They changed what it was, and now what's it seems new and scary to you. I get it. And I could get a TMNT fan being quite upset at this show.
I could too.
They almost seem to intentionally be taking the piss out of the previous series at points.
One could definitely take it that way, and I'm sure a lot of them have.
And I wouldn't consider that an unreasonable position. Like, if they took the position that they are clearly actively taking a piss on the previous series, on the concept itself, if that was your position, I don't think that's true, but if that was your position, I could see it. Like, that there's a logical basis for that.
There's a logical basis, but I don't think... People have this idea that everyone who does an adaptation is incredibly petty toward the previous adaptation.
I think it's an idea that springs from a certain... I mean, correlation doesn't equal causation, but there is a high correlation between new adaptation and being somewhat disdainful of a previous adaptation. At least one.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't... Ninja Turtles as a series does this a lot. I wouldn't say this was among their highest sins in making fun of previous adaptations.
Oh, absolutely not. I think that the times when they've had the literal 90s Ninja Turtles show up on new shows and get played as, like, absolute incompetence, where the new Turtles spend the entire episode basically staring directly into the camera and going, if you like this, you have shit taste. I think that's probably the higher end. This is just deciding that various bits of the Turtles lore and story and personalities you don't want them. You're changing them because you can.
I think it's interesting. Again, I try to keep an open mind. Is this my Turtles? No. If this isn't the adaptation I'd draw from. My Turtles are probably always going to be more heavily based in the Archie comics run, because that's what I was exposed to the most. When I sit back and think of the ideal example of turtledom. But even still, they're kind of off from that, because I've loved what all the other versions have brought into it. I love the various movie versions. I've never watched the 2003 series?
That's the one where they say what the shell all the time.
Yeah, right? And I don't intend to. No, that's a lie. If I could find it somewhere, I'd give it a shot. I like the Mirage comics. I like all the bits of turtledom, and this is no different.
I'm not as big a fan. We've done
Sure.
podcasts on the Ninja Turtles shows, on previous adaptations, on the movies. I think I've got it pretty clear that I like them too. I'm not as big a fan as you are, but I like them as well. Mm-hmm. And there was stuff they changed here that I went, why did you do that? Why was that necessary?
Well, and that's the thing about the Ninja Turtles is, like, I would love to give that credence, but the Ninja Turtles that most people, that brought them into the world's forefront...
The girl who brought them to the party, as it were.
...is a different girl from the one they came with.
Mm-hmm.
The original Mirage Ninja Turtles were dark and edgy. They were a 90s property, like, done as a tongue-in-cheek thing, but genuinely.
Like the tongue was in the cheek, but they were still saying the words.
But the Turtles, the party dude, the good with machines, the leader, and the hard ass, didn't exist.
Cool but rude. He's cool but rude dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They weren't...
Get it right.
They weren't that. They were
Uncle Phil is
basically all Raphael.
So, like, it's not as if it is some sort of cardinal sin upon the canon to change these things, but to me, some of the changes they make negatively impact the stories you have available to tell.
And, I'd actually, ironically, with me being the bigger Turtles fan, I'd love to hear your input on this. So you take the wheel on this one, my good Jesus.
Chiefly, the thing that annoyed me the most, just sort of at base, because it's probably the biggest departure, and because I feel it negatively impacts the stories you have available to tell, is the changes to Splinter. Splinter is basically an entirely different character than usual. I'm not going to say than he should be, because again, things have changed before. But he is fully comic relief in this series. He hasn't been training the boys. They haven't gotten good ninja training because he's not a ninja master. He's a lazy old rat who they have to work around more than learn from.
See, this is my theory, okay? And if what you say is 100% true, I agree that's kind of a shitty departure.
Like, it's just, it cuts off a lot of stories you have available to tell. You think he might be doing, like, intentional goofus?
I think he might be Mr. Miyagi / Yoda.
Yeah, he might be, like, grabbing his stick and hitting the trash can robot.
Yeah.
And,
I think he probably at some point taught them shit, or saw that they could teach themselves and oversaw from afar while looking like he wasn't, so that they actually did the thing instead of forcing discipline upon them.
Because they are very undisciplined.
They are super undisciplined in this show.
And it is a logical extension, because a lot of the changes to the Turtles' personalities sort of spread from that change. Because it's very clear that Splinter hasn't been training them very well, and that they're not, how to put this, that they're not ninja, really.
And they're not organized.
Yeah, they're not organized. Leo is there by a very different character. He's probably the second biggest change. He's just not Leonardo.
Leonardo and Raph both are. I think it's an interesting concept, if what you're saying is true. Again, maybe he did train them and this is all wrong and it just went differently. We only have one episode to go on. But because there was never a point where Splinter sat down and went, all right, Leo's the leader. Raphael's super fucking well adjusted.
Because he never had that, well, why am I not good enough moment.
Yeah.
And because Splinter clearly never imposed a lot of order on their lives and clearly wasn't a heavy disciplinarian like he usually is, Raphael never got a rebellious streak, because you don't push back if you're not being pushed.
And in the same way, Leo never had to put weight on his shoulders, so he didn't adapt to carry it.
He's not Cyclops, because no one looked at him and said, I need you to keep your brothers safe out there. That's your job. You're the same age as them, but it's your job to be the grown-up. No one told him that, so he's not. It's a logical change, and I like that it's a logical change, and it all makes sense, at least as far as the information we have, but I don't necessarily think it gives you more stories to tell. I feel like the tension in the Ninja Turtles story, both between Raphael and Leonardo, and between the Turtles and Splinter, and Splinter as sort of a mentor figure, all gives you a lot more fertile story ground. Now, obviously the counterpoint there is that they've already trod that ground a lot.
Sure. So
changing it so that Splinter is season 1 Uncle Iroh.
Yeah.
Because that's your idea is that he's I say it that way because there's doing a Mako impression.
Sure. Well, I believe that's the same voice actor.
That's Eric Bauza.
Yeah, Eric Bauza.
He was actually in the last Ninja Turtle series.
Oh yeah.
Not as Splinter though. He was something Tiger.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. Here I'm looking at the wiki. He hasn't trained the turtles.
Yep, I didn't think so. Just because it made sense. They told that story really well without mentioning it specifically.
You picked up on that really good. Congratulations.
It's just little things like like Leo goes, training? You guys have been training?
I just thought he was being sarcastic.
No, he's clearly not. Like, he's not a sarcastic guy, this Leo.
A little bit, but not like...
But, like, that's clearly more Donnie's thing.
Sure.
But, like, he was Tiger Claw in the last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, Tiger Claw's a cool character.
But he was Uncle Grandpa in a bunch of characters in that. He's been in a lot of different stuff. He was on Critical Role once. That's neat. He does a damn decent Mako impression. I'll give him that. Pretty much anyone can do a decent Mako impression with enough practice, I suppose. It's a very iconic voice. He was Whiskey Johnson in Dallas and Robo, which is pretty great. Not often someone gets to play Master Splinter and a Dale Earnhardt XP.
What the... Did John Cena bring him? How did that work?
I imagine.
I mean, he's very prolific anyway.
John Cena's playing the main villain. He's playing... God, Baron Draxum?
Yeah. He did pretty cool. I liked that.
I didn't immediately recognize him as John Cena.
Yeah. Even with my really clever joke, completely original, no one's ever thought of before. Cool.
But yeah, no, it's... I don't like the changes to Master Splinter, but I can understand why they made them, and I won't say I'm interested to see where things go from here. Honestly, 100%, I'm probably not going to watch more of this. Yeah, but I just feel like it's probably not a change that was made in service to a good story so much as it was a change that was made in service to a new story. And while that's not bad, I find it often has bad results. New, different for the sake of being different isn't inherently bad, but there's a high correlation.
I think this is, I think it's cool that they're going back to a very fun Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, this is very much a comedy.
And the action's actually really cool. I love the animation in this show. I still think Donnie's head's a little too tall, but in motion, these characters really sing. They do some great facial expressions. The action's really fun.
It's very snappy animation.
Yeah.
I like that. And fucking credit where credit's due. It's really easy to tell the turtles apart. Mm-hmm. You don't have that problem. They are all very different shapes, very different, like, accoutrements. I like, they got their mystical, magical weapons. I like that Donnie said no.
And that he was smug about it later.
Yeah.
I like their interpretations. I wish, I want a little more out of Mikey. I'm kind of interested because he's not the party dude this time. He's an artist.
Yeah, Leo's the party dude now.
A little bit more so, yeah.
They're all the party dude, really.
Really, yeah. It's, I don't know, it's fun. I like it. I had a good time watching it. There's a lot of stuff that I don't, like, cosmic Ninja Turtles, so to speak, are not my favorite Ninja Turtles. The supernatural aspects. Yeah, I like them being street level. I like the fight with the foot. I like aliens occasionally, or mystical threats occasionally. I think that's a very strong part of the lore. But, you know, it's not my favorite part of the Turtles. But I'm willing to look at this, actually. I kind of dig it. I don't know. There's a certain energy to it that really vibes with me. And I find that super interesting because if I can here, and there's a little bit of guessing going on because I haven't seen certain things enough to say this, but maybe you can help me corroborate this. I would argue that probably the 2003 series is very Young Justice. Lots of very serious fucking storylines.
I haven't seen much of it either, but that's kind of the vibe I get.
It's kind of the vibe I get. It seemed to really appeal to slightly older kids at the time. Your budding edgelords. Reaper. And
the 2014 to 2017 series.
That is a lot more Teen Titans, I'd say.
Yeah, where there's serious stuff and comedy, and they strive for a balance.
This feels like the missing link between Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go.
It's not quite Go, but it's a lot closer.
It's not just a comedy, but it is a lot sillier than the last one.
I would struggle to say that that's true.
I think it's a very strong action comedy leaning more on the side of comedy, and it's so fucking snappy and fast-paced, whereas the last show was very, like... I mean, they took the same amount of time to get the same shit across.
Time and pacing aren't the same.
Pacing, yeah, was very different in the previous series. So, I don't... I mean, that's kind of how I'm feeling this vibe. And that's interesting to me because, you know, I didn't really care for the Teen Titans when I first watched it. And haven't had the opportunity to watch it again because of litigation.
Yeah.
But, you know, that opens an interesting window, you know? Would I be interested now in 2018 relative to this? Who knows? I would give it a shot, man. It's free on YouTube. It's not even a fucking YouTube Premium thing.
Yeah, I mean, watch the episode if you like that, especially if you're into the Ninja Turtles. The very, 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 very base sort of, they changed it, now it sucks Grognard, who lives in my head, it does wish to warn you, with the exception of Donnie, because Donnie's loyal. They changed the rest of the Turtles' weapons.
Oh, yeah, they did that too. Which is...
Leo has the one sword, and it's bigger. Much more katana-y than usual, honestly.
It's an Odachi?
Yeah, that would make sense. Raph just has Tonfa now, which...
Yep, Odachi.
I'm going to be completely honest. Tonfa a better weapon for Raph anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a good design choice.
Like, I actually kind of like that change. It fits his personality a lot better.
Yeah, no, it's... Size or a precision weapon, and I never really understood.
Like, I would have given those to Leo before... Or Donnie.
Or even, Donatello.
Before Raph. Raph having Tonfa is... That makes sense. Like, that makes a lot of character sense. I like that change, actually. Mikey has... Was it Kusarigama, or what was it?
It's called a Kusari Fundo, but it's, like, magical. It's basically a really long, non-spiky flail.
Okay. So, he's Go-Go Yubari now?
Basically, yeah. I like because it still keeps the theming a bit, you know...
One uses a flexible weapon, one uses a staff, one uses a sword, one uses short weapons.
Yeah, and two short weapons, especially. Donnie's staff is hardly just a stick, which was a long-standing plot point of the last series. It's fucking Tony Stark's stick.
Yeah, well, the last series was, like, these guys all have these cool weapons. I have a stick.
Yeah.
Which he has science. Donnie's weapon is science, because he's good with machines.
He's a lot funnier in this series, though.
Well, actually, I feel like, again, that might be a change that sort of spreads from Splinter not being a serious guy, is that they don't have that pressure to be serious, so they are a lot jokier. I mean, it's all backronyming from the fact that they wanted the series to be a comedy, so they made the changes that made that possible, but...
The last generation of kids who grew up with the previous show are old enough now that they're no longer the target audience, so they need to refit the show for what their target audience is
now?
interested. Yeah, and they want snarkier heroes.
Teen Titans Go to the movies is a thing. Snarkier and funnier is selling. So that's what you get in your Turtles.
But
in the mid-2000s, Edgelord was what was selling.
Better than the shorts that they had, which I didn't hate all of, but there's a lot I didn't care for, between the previous series of Turtles and this one. This isn't just a goofy little comedy. There's still action, there's still stories, there's still characters. It's just a lot lighter fare.
Side note, I'm calling my shot here. I think these Turtles were humans.
Really? That's an interesting...
I'm not going to keep up, so...
That would be super interesting if they were brothers as humans.
And got injected with 4 different kinds of turtle.
Yeah, like they were babies or some shit? That's an interesting wrinkle. I'm okay, I'd be curious to see where that goes.
I'm calling my shot here. They were humans.
Yeah, okay. I feel like eventually Baron Draxum is going to be, like, a good guy. Eventually. I think he's gonna... Something's gonna push him too far, and he will be like, no, I will fight with the turtles.
Well, he loves them. They're his sweet...
I do. I love the turtles.
They're his sweet children.
You guys are great. Think I'm gonna do a little face turn?
I honestly, also, just so we're clear, fairly sure Baron Draxel made them.
Oh yeah, that's pretty clear. But I like his little shoulder gargoyles who
are just normal guys. I honestly chuckled. Like, this show got a couple genuine chuckles out of me. I had a couple different jokes, I'll give it that. Like I am very serious, I am villain man. And then his friends are just normal dudes.
Yeah. The whole thing reminds me a lot of Null, Skull, and Bean from the Archie comics. And, like, I dig that vibe. So I don't know. I mean, they're going a really wild direction, and some of the characters that I've seen previewed, like Meat Sweats, really live that Turtles.
Is Meat Sweats the Five Nights at Freddy's villain?
No, Meat Sweats is a giant pig who was a celebrity chef voiced by Johnny Rotten. The Five Nights at Freddy's villain, hold on, is Alberto, who is a living mechanical bear used at children's birthday parties in his pizzeria. After a small child short-circuits him, April has Donatello upgrade him, where a stage mishap causes Alberto to get electrocuted and come to life.
He's Freddy Fazbear. Like,
yeah. But I guess, I mean, looking at the wiki, I didn't realize that there was all this extra information here.
That was available, yeah.
First of all, we get Lena Headey in a role. That's interesting.
Lena Headey shows up in weird stuff sometimes. She played Mystique once.
Oh!
In the Avengers comedy cartoon from, like, the early 2010s.
I didn't know I wanted that as a serious role, but now I do. Thanks, asshole.
Like, she was the one that was really, really comedic, and the characters were very, very SD style.
I maybe have seen art for it. I have no clue what you're talking about.
She's Mystique in it, and that was weird.
But there's a lot of yokai influence. It specifically states that Baron Draxum is a yokai, and that's kind of cool. I like yokai. It's not my favorite part of the Turtles, but it's cool.
Huh. Now that sort of makes sense. Very yokai inspired. Okay, the Turtles are Kappa. They're much more Kappa-like.
Sure, they did that in the third movie as well, kind of made that illusion.
But, like, personality-wise. They're Kappas.
Yeah, like very trickstery, good party bros, love fighting.
Love, like, looking cool in front of their bros. That's their whole deal.
Yeah, man.
They're Kappa. And Splinter's a Tanuki.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, shit. I like that corollary. Oh,
that makes sense.
I dig that. All right. Well, not quite the turnaround on fucking Infinity War, but...
I mean, I'm still probably not going to watch it, but at least I can kind of put it together now.
Yeah, I might. I might if I have easy access to it, like through Hulu or something. I'd kind of want to finish the previous series first. I got all the shit on my plate anyway, but I'd recommend this. I had a lot of fun with it. Don't try to take it seriously. That would be your first failing. But God, appreciate that animation, because that is some good-ass animation.
It's quality animation.
Quality stuff. I think that's all I got to say. How about you, my dude?
Same. Everything's better when nerds talk about it.
Fuck it, let's get high.